Good morning to all. I welcome you to Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research. Myself, N. Bharat Kumar, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. So these are the contents that we are going to discuss in today's class. First one, we are going to discuss about components of an atom. Next, we will discuss about electricity and how electricity is going to be produced at atomic level and what is the importance of electricity. Next, electric charge. So what is a charge? What are the 5 important facts of charge? Next, we are discussing about electric current, electric voltage, and finally, we will discuss about resistance. I think all of you aware of these concepts, but as the course demands, I am going to remind you once again the basic concepts. Okay, let's move on to the first one. The first one is nothing but components of an atom. So we already know that the main parts of an atom are, first one is nucleus, and the second one is electrons and electron orbits. So what are the two important parts of an atom? First part constitutes nucleus and the second part is nothing but electrons and electron orbitals. So if you see the diagram here, the center part is called the nucleus of an atom, and these are nothing but electrons which will rotate around this nucleus in specified paths called as electron orbits. Okay. So what is the first part? First part is nothing but the nucleus. So what is the nucleus? Nucleus is the center portion. Nucleus is the center portion. Okay, nucleus is the center portion of an atom containing protons and neutrons. What is a proton? Proton is nothing but a positively charged. What is a proton? Proton is a positively charged atomic particle. Next one, what is a neutron? Already we know neutron is a uncharged atomic particle. Uncharged means it is a neutral. Uncharged means neutral. That's why we are going to call it as a neutron. So this proton and neutron both constitute nucleus. Okay, that is the center part of the atom. Next one is nothing but electrons. So electrons are the negatively charged atomic particles. Electrons are negatively charged atomic particles. These are called the electrons. These electrons will revolve around the nucleus in specified paths called as electron orbitals. So what are electron orbitals? Orbits in which electrons move around the nucleus of an atom. The orbit in which electrons move around the nucleus of an atom is called electron orbitals. So this is how you are going to represent an atom, and it is the 3D view. Now for the sake of explanation, I am going to redraw the circuit in 2D. If you see here, there are two orbits. This is the first orbit and this is the second orbit. Each orbit contains 2 electrons. Okay. So this is the first orbit and this is the second orbit, and each orbit contains 2 electrons. 1, 2 in the first orbit and 1 and 2 in the second orbit. Whether all these electrons will contribute to electricity, since we are going to study about electricity in the coming parts, in the coming topics, whether these all electrons will contribute to produce electricity? No. So what are the electrons that contribute or that produce electricity? The valence electrons. The electrons that are present in the outermost orbit. This is the outermost orbit. So the electrons which are present in the orbit will produce electricity or will be responsible for producing current. So the valence electrons are nothing but the electrons that are present in the outermost orbit are called valence electrons. So these two are the valence electrons. Okay, this is all about components of an atom. Okay, next topic is electricity. So what is basically an electricity? It is a physical phenomenon. Electricity is nothing but a physical phenomenon. So electricity is a physical phenomenon. How it is going to arise? It is going to arise from the existence and interactions of electric charge. So the current or electricity is a physical phenomenon arising from the existence and interactions of electric charge. Whenever the electric charge interacts or whenever there is a presence of electric charge, then there is a physical phenomenon called electricity. This electricity is going to be produced. Let's see that from atomic level. electricity at the atomic level. The electricity is created as electrons. So I am going to specify that, I am going to stress about that. The electricity is created as electrons collide. Electrons collide and transfer from atom to atom. So at atomic level, the electricity is going to be produced when electrons collide and transfer from one atom to the another atom. How they are going to? Let's see this. Here I have considered 4 atoms. So this is an electron that present in the outermost orbit. So this electron is going to be responsible for producing electricity. How electricity is going to produce? When this electron moves from one orbit to one atom to another atom. So like this. So electron will move from one atom to another orbit. Like that, the electricity is going to be produced at atomic level. Okay. Now coming about charge. I told you that electricity is a physical phenomenon that is going to arise whenever the electric charge is going to interact or exist. So let us see what is a charge. So charge is an electrical property of a atomic particles. So what is charge? It is the electrical property of atomic particles of which matter consists. Okay. The world around us and each one of us is full of positive and negative charges. The table, chair, chalk piece, duster, everything contains atoms. When there is an atom, we are having charges. The electrical circuits mostly rely on the flow of charge, which is nothing but current. Flow of charge is nothing but current. The electric circuits mostly rely on the flow of charge, just like our human nervous system, where the neurons are going to be fired. Just like that, the electric circuits also rely on flow of charge. And how we are going to represent charge? By the symbol Q. You can represent charge by means of symbol Q, small q and capital Q. I will differentiate this symbol, small q and capital Q, when we are discussing about the charge in detail. So for timing, remember that the charge is going to be represented by letter Q. And what is the unit of charge? The unit of charge is Coulomb. So it is very much important to represent or to indicate the units of electrical quantities. So here the unit of charge is Coulomb. So what is a Coulomb? Coulomb is a large unit of charge. Let us discuss this Coulomb in detail. So 1 Coulomb is almost equal to 6.92 into 10 power 19 electrons. Okay, 1 Coulomb is almost equal to 6.92 into 10 power 18 electrons. See this, that means 1 Coulomb of charge contains how many number of electrons? 6.92 into 10 power 18 electrons. That is a very large unit. So if you take 1 electron, so what is the charge of 1 electron? Which is equal to 1 by 6.92 into 10 power 18, which is almost equal to 1.69 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Okay, so that means 1 electron charge is almost equal to 1.69 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. So that's why the coulomb is a large unit. Generally we are going to represent in terms of microcoulombs or nanocoulombs. This micro and nano is a symbol for representing matrix. Micro means 10 power minus 6, nano means 10 power minus 9. I will let you know about this matrix later. For timing, remember that micro is a small quantity which is in terms of 10 power minus 6 and nano is 10 power minus 9. So coulomb is a large unit. That's why we are going to usually represent charge in terms of microcoulombs or nanocoulombs. That's all about charge. Now let us see what are the important terms or important points regarding charge. So there are 5 important facts about charge. The first one is nothing but, we already know there are 2 kinds of charges. One is positive charge and another one is negative charge. So what is a positive charge? Positive charge is nothing but the charge of a proton. The charge of a proton is called positive charge and it is equivalent to 1.602 into 10 power minus 19. Here the charge is plus. What is a negative charge? Negative charge is nothing but charge of an electron. So that's why we are going to represent minus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. So the magnitude is same, For both proton and electron, only difference is proton is going to be represented, or it is the symbol of positive charge, and electron is going to be the used for representing negative charge. Next one, second, like charges repel and unlike charges attract. So what is the second fact? Like charges repel and unlike charges attract. Just like magnetic north and south poles, like poles repel, unlike poles attract. Similarly, in case of charges also, like charges repel and unlike charges attract. So if you see here, whenever an unlike charge, whenever we are going to bring unlike charge near to it, they are going to attract. Two unlike charges will attract. What about the like charges? They are going to always repel. So that is the one fact about charges. Next, third one, how positive charge and negative charges are going to be formed. So positive charge comes when we are having more protons than electrons. Positive charge is going to be formed when there are more number of protons than electrons. In the nucleus, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 protons are there. How many electrons are there? Only 3 electrons. That means there are more number of protons than electrons. Then we are going to say that it is positively charged because there are more protons than electrons. Similarly, the negative charge comes from having more electrons. The negative charge is going to be formed when there are more electrons than protons. If you see here, there are only 3 protons. But what about the electrons? There are 5 electrons. That's why we are going to say that this atom is negatively charged because there are more number of electrons than protons. So this is one of the fact about charge. And fourth one, charge is always conserved. Charge is always conserved. What is meant by conservation? Conservation means the charge can neither be created nor be destroyed. You cannot create a charge or you cannot destroy charge. Only we can transfer charge from one object to the other object. So if you see here, I am going to rub this balloon on a woolen sweater. Then the balloon is going to be charged with electrons. The balloon is charged with electrons. If you bring this charged balloon nearer to a conductor, what happens? The electrons will repel. And if you bring the same balloon, charged balloon, towards an insulator, insulator will mean it will not contain, cannot contain free electrons. So that's why the electrons cannot move. But when you touch that insulator, some electrons will transfer from the negatively charged balloon to the insulator. So by means of this activity, we can easily say that charge cannot be created. First, the charge has been transferred from woolen to balloon, then the balloon to the insulating material. So that is called charge conservation. And the last fact about charge is charge quantization. So charge is always quantized. It is meant by quantization, quantity. So you are going to represent or you are going to measure charge always in integer multiples. How you are going to measure charge? Always in integer multiples of elementary charge. So charge is always going to be measured in terms of integer multiples of elementary charge. What is the elementary charge? Charge of an electron. How you are going to represent mathematically? So Q is equal to plus or minus n into E. So here I already indicated. So Q is equal to plus or minus n into E. Here n is a integer and E is the charge of one electron. So if you want to measure charge, the charge value will always be in terms of integer multiples. So that means n charge can be 1 electron, 2 electrons, 3 electrons, like that. So n must be always an integer. So this is called as charge. So let us summarize the 5 facts. So what is the first one? There are 2 kinds of charges. One is positive charge and another one is negative charge. Second, like charges repel and unlike charges attract each other. Third, positive charge is going to be formed when there are more number of protons than electrons, and similarly negative charge is going to be formed when there are more number of electrons than protons. Fourth one, charge is always conserved, means charge cannot be created or destroyed. It only can transferred from one atom to another atom or one object to another object. And finally, charge is always quantized. That means we are going to measure charge in terms of integer multiples of elementary charge E. So these are the 5 important facts. These are very much essential for you to understand in the coming topics. Okay, now let's move on to the next concept, electric current. So what is electric current? The charge. The flow of electric charge is called electric current. So previously we studied about charge. When the charge is moving, then we are going to get current. So the definition of the electric current is nothing but the flow of electric charge is called electric current. Okay. The flow of charge. Sometimes you are going to say that the rate of flow of charge. The flow of charge or rate of flow of charge. Both can be defined as electric current. I will let you know the difference between these two. So the flow of electric charge or the rate of flow of electric charge is called electric current. So how we are going to measure? So it is always measured in terms of amperes. Amperes is the unit. What is the unit of charge? Coulombs. And here what is the unit? Ampere. So amperes is the unit of current. So we are going to measure current in terms of amperes. I will try to explain the concept of current by using a physical example. So here I considered a tank and a pipe and a faucet. Okay. I am going to assume that the tank is analogous to a battery and the pipe is nothing but it is analogous to a wire and faucet is analogous to a switch. Okay. So in this example, I have considered the tank as a battery, assume that, and pipe is analogous to a wire, conducting wire, copper wire, and coming to the faucet, it is analogous to a switch. Now, assume that there is water in the tank, and I am going to assume that this water is analogous to charge. Okay. So the water in the tank, I am going to assume that it is analogous to charge. Now the question is, when the faucet is off, is there any flow? So when the faucet is off, is there any water flow through the pipe? The answer is no. We all know that. So when the faucet is off, there is no flow. When the faucet is on, when you turn on the faucet, what happens to the water flow? It will flow. Similarly, in an electrical circuit, when you turn on a switch, the fan will rotate. Similarly, when you turn on a switch, the charge will flow. That flow is called as current. Okay. Now let us apply this concept to understand the electric current in an electric circuit. Okay. So current in an electrical circuit. Before going in discussing about this electrical circuit, let us watch an AV.
How we can light up a 2.5 volt torch bulb using a 1.5 volt electric cell in an experiment. We simply have to connect the positive terminal of the cell with any one of the terminals of the bulb. And finally complete the circuit by connecting the negative terminal of the cell to the second terminal of the bulb. The bulb then glows. The word circuit is very important here. In this context, it will be electric circuit. In simple words, it is the path along which an electric current can flow. You can see here that a closed loop is formed. All the terminals of the electric cell and the bulb are occupied. So here the electric current is flowing along a closed path. We say that electric circuit is complete. But how exactly does electricity flow through the circuit? Well, it is difficult to explain how exactly it flows. However, I will try to give you an intuitive explanation of this phenomenon. Basically, it's said that electricity or electric current is a flow of electrons in one direction. What really happens is that the negative terminal of the cell repels the electrons in the copper wire near it. So the electrons in a copper wire drift away from the terminal. But in the process, they repel the neighboring electrons. Or in other words, they transfer some of the energy to their neighboring electrons. So the neighboring electrons are also pushed away. They in turn further transfer the energy to their neighboring electrons. The process continues and the energy flows throughout the circuit. This flow of electrical energy is nothing but electric current. So these are the two ways to define electric current. This one is more accurate of the two. In reality, electrons don't really travel from the negative terminal all the way to the positive terminal. The electrons merely drift slightly from their rest position and transfer the energy to their neighbors. This is because the wire is a solid object and the density of atoms per unit volume is very high. Hence, there is no space available for electrons to travel all the way through. So it is this electrical energy that travels through the circuit. But how does the energy flow through the bulb? The electrons in the copper wire transfer this energy to the electrons in metal rod connected to one of the terminals. This energy then flows through the rod, through the filament and out from the second terminal. So in this way, the energy is transferred through the bulb. But when the energy flows between the two ends of filament, it heats the filament up, which in turn glows and gives off light. So I hope that you're now clear about how the electricity travels through a circuit. But for how long will this energy keep flowing? The energy flows as long as the circuit is connected or until the cell dies out. So we learned that the circuit must be complete for the bulb to light up. But is this the only way for the circuit to be complete? Well, if we interchange the wires connected to the two terminals of the bulb, then the circuit is still complete. So the bulb will still glow. Now look at this circuit. Is it complete? No, it isn't. Not all the terminals of the system are occupied. For instance, this terminal is not connected to the circuit. Here both positive and negative terminals of the battery are connected to only one terminal of the bulb. So what's happening here? The energy is flowing from the negative terminal of the cell directly to the positive terminal of the cell. Not only will the bulb not glow, but it will get even worse. The battery might explode and may severely injure us. You should never connect the positive and negative terminals directly. This heats up the wire quickly and at the same time the battery also drains really fast.
Okay. Now coming to the current in an electrical circuit. So the electric current is the time rate of change. So I already told you that the rate of flow of charge is one of the definition of current. So the same here I mentioned. Electric current is the time rate of change. What is meant by time rate? Time rate is nothing but it is changing with respect to time. So how will you indicate change? By means of differentiation d. So whenever a variable is changing with respect to time, we are going to indicate it as d by dt. What is the quantity that here changing? Charge. That means when the charge is varying with respect to time, that is equivalent to current. So I is equals to dq by dt. So this is the current that we are going to consider in an electrical circuit. When the current flow is uniform, then you are going to represent this same expression as I is equal to q by t. Okay. When the charge flow is uniform with respect to time, then we are going to represent I is equals to q by t. So the capital letters are going to be denoted for constant values or uniform values, and these are the variables. Small letters are used to represent the variable quantities. Okay. So mathematically you can express I as q by t or I is equal to dq by dt. This first one when the charge flow is uniform, and this one when the charge is varying with respect to time. Now I told you that the current, what is the unit of current? I told you earlier, it is measured always in terms of amperes. Okay. But in this formula, if you see, I is given as q by t, and we already know that the unit of charge is coulombs. And what is the unit of time? Seconds. We already know that. So that which is equivalent to current. So what is the another unit for current? It is coulombs per second. This coulombs per second is equivalent to ampere. So what is the other unit for ampere or other unit for current? Coulombs per second. Okay. So that formula has been derived from the mathematical expression for current. Okay. So 1 ampere. So if you when you are going to say that there is 1 ampere of current, how this 1 ampere of current is going to be get? When 1 coulomb of charge is flown in the electrical circuit for 1 second. When 1 coulomb of charge has flown in an electrical circuit for 1 second, then we are going to say that a current of 1 ampere is flowing in the circuit. So the electric current is nothing but Q by T. The unit of Q is coulomb and the unit of time is second. That's why the SI unit of current is called as been named after ampere, named as ampere. So this ampere is a unit which has been named after this scientist Andre Marie Ampere. Okay. So 1 ampere is 1 coulombs per 1 second. But this current, since coulomb is a large unit, we are always going to be measure current in terms of milliamperes or microamps, because coulombs is also going to be measured in microcoulombs. That's why. Now let us see how current is going to be measured. Consider a basic electrical circuit here. This is an element or resistor or a bulb. I have considered a source, a battery, and it is a plug key. This plug key is nothing but on and off switch type. So this position, so whenever there is a dot indicated in that position, the switch is going to be called as closed. When there is no dot, it is open. And coming to this is an ammeter. Ammeter is the apparatus which we are going to use to measure the, and it is connected always in series. Always in series in the circuit. You connected whenever the switch is on, the current will flow. And if you observe, electrons are flowing in opposite direction to the conventional current flow. Current flow is flowing from positive to negative terminal, but electrons are flowing opposite to that direction. Okay. Now let us see here. Current must always be designated with both direction as well as magnitude. For explanation of this direction, I am going to consider a wire like this, and I am going to assume that 3 amperes is moving upwards. So 3 amperes is moving in this direction. Let us consider the same wire and assume that minus 3 amperes is flowing in downward direction. Now I am going to say that these two currents are equal. Why? Because here 3 amperes is flowing upwards. If you make minus 3 means just exactly opposite. It has to flow in opposite direction to plus 3. That's why the sign is very much important. The sign indicates the polarity. So plus 3 amperes means moving in upward direction. Minus 3 means moving in downward direction. So when you want to represent a current in a circuit diagram, either you have to represent polarity or you have to indicate the direction. Okay. So this direction or polarity is a must to represent current. Now coming to the current, there are two notations to represent current flow. First one is called conventional current flow. So what is conventional current flow? It always assumes that current will come out of the positive side of the battery. So what is the conventional current notation? It will always assumes that current flows out of the positive terminal of the battery and it will flow through the circuit and back to the negative side of the battery. So if you consider a circuit like this, how current will come? Current will come out of the positive side of the battery and it will flow through the circuit and comes back to negative terminal like this. Okay. So this is the conventional current flow direction. So when this has been considered, this convention has been established when electricity was first discovered. This is the conventional current. It has been established when electricity was discovered. How this conventional current flows? It will come out of the positive terminal of the battery, go through the circuit and comes back to the negative terminal. But what is actual electron flow? Electron flow is exactly opposite to the conventional flow. This electron flow is exactly opposite to conventional current flow. How electron flow is going to be considered here? The electron flow is always out of the negative terminal of the battery and it will back to the positive side of the battery or positive terminal of the battery like this. The electron flow will comes out of the negative terminal of the battery, it will go through the circuit and it will come back to the positive terminal of the battery. This representation is called electron flow. Okay. So these are the two conventions that we are going to represent for current flow. One is conventional current flow, another one is electron flow. You can use any one of these conventions. Okay. So conventional current direction is always opposite to the electron flow. The direction of that the current flows doesn't affect what the current is actually doing. So you can represent the current flow is either using conventional current or electron flow. Both are correct. This representation is not going to affect what the current actually doing in the circuit. Please remember, this is just representation of or indicating the direction of current flow. These notations will not affect what the current is actually doing in the circuit. Please remember that. This is only notation or direction or representation of current flow, that's it. And both conventional current and electron flow can be used as long as you are consistent. That's what I told you. But to avoid confusion, we are going to follow conventional because always engineers will follow the conventional current. In general, the science disciplines use electron flow, whereas the engineering disciplines use conventional current. Okay. Since we are going to study basic electrical and electronics engineering, we are going to use always conventional current. Okay, we are not going to follow this electron flow representation. Always use this conventional notation. So what is the conventional notation? Current always comes out of the positive terminal and it will back to the negative terminal. So to avoid confusion, we are going to use this conventional current notation. That's all about current flow and electric current in a circuit. Let us solve some problems. So first problem, this first problem is about charge. What is the question? What quantity of charge is carried by 6.24 into 10 power 21 electrons? So whenever one problem is given, the first step, while solving the problem, the first step you have to choose is you have to write down the given data. So in the given problem, what is the data? 6.24 into 10 power 24 electrons. So the given data is 6.24 into 10 power 21 electrons. So number of electrons n is 6.24 into 10 power 21. We already know that the charge of an electron, one single electron, is 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Now from the charge quantization, we know that the charge of n electrons is n into e. So always charge is measured in terms of integer multiples of a standard charge, that is the charge of an electron. That we already know from quantization. So n into e. Therefore, the charge of 6.24 into 10 power 21 electrons is, we are going to multiply n with e. Okay. Around we are going to get 1000 coulombs. This is how we are going to solve. Let us do this problem once again. First, from the given problem, you write down the given data. Given the number of electrons. N is equals to 6.24 into 10 power 21. So this is the given charge. What is our requirement? Charge. So what is the charge carried by this number of electrons? So from charge quantization, we already know that the charge is always quantized. So we already know that charge is always quantized. So from charge quantization, Q is nothing but n into e. That means the charge is always an integer multiples of a small charge called electron charge. And we know that the charge of an electron is equal to 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. So one single electron, the charge of one electron is 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. In this problem, we have to calculate the charge of 6.24 into 10 power 21 electrons. So, the total charge Q is equals to number of electrons given into charge of 1 electron. So, here N is equals to 6.24 to 10 power 21 and charge of electron is 1.602 into 10 power minus 19. So, this is approximately 1000 coulombs. When you solve in calculator, you are going to get the value of the total charge is 1000 and the unit is coulombs. So, this is the simple problem on a charge. Okay. I think you understand this problem clearly. Now, move on to the next problem. So, problem 2. If a current of 5 amperes flows for 2 minutes, find quantity of charge transferred. So, given that a current of 5 amperes is flowing for 2 minutes. So, what is the given data? So, given data is the value of current 5 amperes and next time t 2 minutes. And always you have to express time in seconds because we are using SI units to represent all the quantities here. That is why the time should be always in seconds. And we know that 1 minute is 60 seconds. So, 2 minutes means 2 into 60 seconds, so 120 seconds. Now, from the definition of current, I is equals to Q by T. So, we know the value of Q, we know the value of I, we know the value of I and we know the value of T. The unknown quantity is Q, therefore, Q is equals to I into T. Now, the total charge can be obtained as multiplying the current and time value, we are going to get the total charge as 600 coulombs. Okay. So, let us do this problem again. So, the given quantities are the current I is equals to 5 amperes and time t is equals to 2 minutes. For the purpose of solving the problem, we are going to convert the minutes into seconds. All the units involved here are SI units. That's why we are going to convert the time into seconds. 1 minute is 60 seconds. Therefore, 2 into 60 is 120 seconds. Now, the current is in amperes, time is in seconds. Now, from the definition of current I, rate of flow of charge. So, you know that when the rate is uniform, we are going to express I as Q by T. Okay. So, from the data given, the known quantities are I and T, and Q is the unknown quantity. So, we can rewrite this expression as Q is equals to I into T. Okay. So, substitute the value of I and T here. I is 5 ampere, time is 120. So, total charge carried or transferred for 2 minutes by 5 amperes is 600 coulombs. So, this is how you have to solve the problem. This involves current and time. Okay, earlier we have solved the problem entirely on charge. Now, we involve current and time also. In simple exercise, so I will give you 3 problems and I will give you 5 minutes time. You try to solve these 3 problems as fast as possible. These are very, very simple problems. So, already discussed some model problems also. Now, you try it on your own. I will give you 5 minutes time. Now, the answers are, the first one 30 seconds. So, in what time would a current of 1 ampere transfer a charge of 30 coulomb? That answer is 30 seconds. Second problem, a current of 3 amperes flows for 5 minutes. What charge is transferred? Answer is 900 coulomb. Third one, how long must a current of 0.1 amperes flow so as to transfer a charge of 30 coulombs? Answer is 5 minutes. I think all of you have done correctly. Please verify your answers. So, I will explain you each problem again now. I will try to solve. The first one, in what time would a current of 1 ampere transfer a charge of 30 coulombs? So the given data. So what is the given data? Current I is equals to 1 ampere and charge Q is equals to 30 coulombs. So what is the relation between charge and current? We already know. I is equals to Q by T. So here we know the value of I, we know the value of Q, and but the value of T is unknown. So from this expression, T is equals to Q by I. So substitute this value 30 by 1, sorry. So 30 seconds. So the time required to transfer 30 coulombs of charge by 1 ampere of current is 30 seconds. Okay. Next, second one. The second problem is a current of 3 amperes. So what is the given data? Given I is equal to current I is 3 amperes, time T is equals to 5 minutes. Since it is in minutes, we have to convert the minutes into seconds. So 5 into 60, which is equal to 300 seconds. Now what is the required quantity here? Charge. The relation between the required quantity is charge. The relation between current, time and charge, I is equals to Q by T. So I and T, we know Q is an unknown quantity. So from this expression, Q is equals to I into T. If you substitute the values, 3 into 300. So we are going to get Q as 900 coulombs. So the current of 3 amperes will transfer 900 coulombs for 5 minutes. That is the problem. And the third final one. So from the given problem we can write the data. So the given is current I is equals to 0.1 amperes and charge Q is equals to 30 coulombs. The unknown quantity is time. So Q is equals to Q by time. I is equals to Q by T. So we know I and we know Q. So therefore time T is equals to Q by I. So the given data is charge and current. Unknown quantity is time. So time is equals to Q by I. So 30 divided by 0.1. So that is equals to 300 seconds. Okay, if you want to ask it to convert to minutes, you have to divide with 60 because 1 second is equal to 1 by 60 minutes. So 5 minutes. So the time required to transfer 30 coulombs of charge by 1.1 ampere of current is 5 minutes or 300 seconds. So this is how you are going to solve the 3 problems. Next one is voltage. So what is a voltage? The force that causes current to flow. So the force that causes current to flow in a circuit is called voltage. And how we are going to represent voltage? In terms of volts. Volts is the unit of voltage. Now I will try to explain this voltage concept using the same example that I have considered for current also. I have considered the same tank, pipe, faucet. Now here the question is, when the faucet is off, is there any pressure? So when the faucet is off, is there any pressure in the pipe? Yes. Because since there is a water in the tank, the water will always try to flow from higher altitude to lower altitude. That's why the pressure is going to be applied on the faucet by means of the water in the pipe as well as in the tank. That means there is a pressure. So pressure is pushing against the pipe, tank and the faucet. Now, when the faucet is on, when you turn on this faucet, is there any pressure? Yes, the pressure only causes the water to flow. So the answer is yes. The pressure pushes the water to flow through the system. So that means when this faucet is off or on, there is pressure. Similarly, in an electrical circuit, when the switch is off or on, that means when the switch is a switch, whether it is off or on, in both the cases, the voltage is going to be present. So this is how we are going to explain the voltage. Now let us try to apply this in electrical circuit. Okay. So let us watch a video before going into further study about the voltage in electrical circuit. Let's watch an AV.
Imagine you have two beakers filled with equal amounts of water, and they are both connected to each other by a pipe at the bottom. If you observe the two beakers for a few seconds, do you think the water will flow from one beaker to another? No, you will see that the water in both beakers is as is and there is no flow from any beaker to the other. Now let me give you a task. Without changing the amount of water in any of the beakers, can you make water flow from beaker 2 to beaker 1? Understand my question again. You need to make water flow from beaker 2 to beaker 1. But you're not allowed to change the amount of water in any of the beakers. So you can't add or remove the water from any beaker. How will you do it? It's easy. One of the things you could do is raise the height at which the second beaker is kept. Once it's raised at a height, the water will flow from beaker 2 to beaker 1. What exactly happened here? What was the factor that made water flow? In simple terms, the factor was height. Yes, you can talk about gravity or pressure difference. But in layman terms, it is the height difference that causes the water to flow from the second beaker to the first. In an exactly similar way, for electricity to flow, there has to be some factor. We'll come to that factor soon, don't worry. So we just have a copper wire. Do you think electricity will flow through it? Clearly not, because there's nothing that's triggering it. There's no factor triggering it. So what is the factor that triggers the flow of electricity? It's called the potential difference. Now, I can't define this term in one line, but that wouldn't help you understand the concept well. So let's dive a bit deeper into it. We see the word potential here. Have you heard this term before? Of course, we've heard of potential energy. It is the stored energy when an object is at rest. When you're holding a ball in your hand, it has potential energy. When you drop it, the potential energy is getting converted to kinetic energy when it drops to the ground. Kinetic energy is the energy an object has when it's in motion. Similarly, there is a concept of electric potential energy. The electric potential energy of any charge describes how much stored energy it has. Just like the ball in your hand has high potential energy, a negative charge close to another negative charge has high potential energy. If left free, the charge will be repelled by the negative charge and will move towards the positive charge, just like the ball will fall towards the earth. What's potential difference then? It's just a difference of electric pressure between 2 points. And this difference may arise because of a battery consisting of cells. Potential difference is also referred to as voltage. If we have to understand the technical definition, we would say that it is the work done to move a unit charge from one point to another. The potential difference V between any 2 points in an electric circuit will be the work done over the charge Q. We know that the work is measured in joules and charge is measured in coulombs. What's the SI unit of potential difference then? It's volt, named after Alessandro Volta, an Italian physicist. So how would we define volt in a current carrying conductor? It is the potential difference between any 2 points when 1 joule of work is done to move a charge of 1 coulomb from one point to another. The potential difference is measured by an instrument called voltmeter. It's measured in parallel across the points between which the potential difference is to be measured.
Okay, so consider an electrical circuit like this. Here there is an element, so it is actually the resistance, it is a resistor and it is a battery. This voltage in an electrical circuit, already I told you that the other name for voltage is potential difference. So what is the other name for voltage? Potential difference. So when you connect an element like this resistor to the battery, what happens? One terminal of the resistor is connected to positive terminal of the battery and other terminal has been connected to the negative terminal of the battery. That means this positive is going to be applied here and negative is going to be applied here. So across these two terminals there is a potential difference. Okay. So this terminal is having higher potential value and this terminal is having lesser potential value compared to this one. Now what happens? Already told you that when there exists a potential difference, current will flow. How current will flow? Higher potential to lower potential. Just like water. How water flows from higher potential to lower potential, like that the current flows from here higher potential to lower potential in an electrical circuit. Which causes this current to flow? The potential difference produced by the battery. So what's going actually in the circuit? As already shown in the video, this negative terminal is going to supply energy. It is going to transfer some of its energy to the electrons that are present nearby it. Then these electrons will repel the electrons present nearby it. Like that the energy is going to be transferred. Okay. Then these electrons will move or drift from negative terminal to positive terminal in this direction. Since electrons is moving in this direction, that means the energy is transferring by means of electrons in this direction. Conventional current indicates that it flows opposite to the electron flow. So this potential difference is going to cause to transfer energy in the circuit. So here the energy from the battery is transferring to resistor. Okay. So that's how the potential difference is going to. Mathematically, how we are going to express as work done in moving a charge, because the charge is going to drift from one point to another point in the circuit. So how much work you are going to perform to move the charge in the circuit. This is how we are going to represent the voltage mathematically. And we know that the unit of work is nothing but joules and unit of charge is coulombs. So the unit of voltage is joules per coulomb. So this is the other unit apart from volt. So 1 volt is nothing but 1 joules per 1 coulomb. So when you done 1 joule of work to move 1 coulomb of charge, then a 1 volt of voltage is going to be produced. So what is the other unit? Joules per coulomb. So this is all about the voltage in an electrical circuit. Okay. Now let's move on to the resistance. What is a resistance? The opposition of current flow. So first we have discussed about when the charge flows, we are going to call it as current. And what is the cause of current flow? Voltage. Now what is the parameter that opposing that current flow? Resistance. So resistance is nothing but which resists the charge to flow in an electrical circuit. Technically we are going to call it as the opposition of current flow is called resistance. How this resistance is going to be measured? By means of ohms. Ohm is the unit to represent or to measure resistance. Okay, let's consider the same setup which I have used to explain voltage and current. Here I consider tank, pipe and faucet. Now I am going to drop a rock. What happens to the flow if a rock gets lodged in the pipe? So I am going to drop a pipe and this rock is going to lodge in the pipe. Now what happens to this? It will increase or decrease? Obviously it will decrease. The flow decreases. The water flow obviously decreases because this rock is going to obstruct the flow. Okay, similarly in an electrical circuit, whenever there is a resistance, It opposes current. It opposes current. It will not decrease. Here the quantity of water has not been decreased. Please remember that. The water quantity is same. But only thing is the flow has been decreased. Circuit. Now let us see how the resistance is going to be defined in a circuit. Just watch an AV.
Do you remember what resistance is in an electric circuit? It is something that controls the flow of current. If it's more, then the current reading will be lower, and if it's less, then the current reading will be higher. It's inversely proportional to the current.
Okay, this is all about resistance in a circuit. Now, these are the concepts that we have discussed today. Let us summarize the concept that we have discussed today. The first one, at first we have discussed the components of an atom. So what are the various components of an atom? First one is nucleus, which consists of protons and neutrons. Second one, electrons and electron orbitals. And finally, we discussed about the valence electrons, which are the responsible, which are main thing that are responsible for flow of charge or electricity. Next, we discussed about electricity. Electricity is physical phenomenon, how this electricity is going to be produced at atomic level. So we have discussed this. Next, we discussed about charge. So what is a charge? Its definition. 5 facts about charge. After that, the charge flow, which is called electric current. So we discussed about electric current, its definition, the unit of electric current. Next, what is the actual phenomenon of electric current? We have to explain the phenomenon using a simple physical example. And finally, we have applied that example to understand the current in an electrical circuit. Similarly, we discussed about the voltage. What is voltage? Which is responsible for flow of current. So we discussed about the definition of voltage and its units. Next, phenomenon. And we have discussed about the potential difference. Potential difference is the other name for this PD. Potential difference is the other name for voltage. And how this potential difference is going to be cause the current to flow in a circuit. And finally, we discussed about the resistance, the definition of the resistance in its units, and the resistance in an electrical circuit. So these are the topics that we have discussed in today's class. Thank you.